Okay.
The next line where it says Barrett Boulware took insurance proceeds, this is actually a check that was payable to Barrett Boulware from Southern Fidelity Insurance, and Alec actually endorsed that check. He had power of attorney on that file. He actually endorsed that check, and later we were able to trace it into his personal accounts.
All right.
If you keep going down, the majority of these are forged payment. If you get to Dion Martin, the first line says fake.
Just real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just going across, though, we've got the client, we've got the civil action number, we've got the category that you were just describing, we got the date the trust was funded, and then we have the amount. Is that
That's
correct?
right.
And the date the trust was funded, what does that category refer to?
That refers to when we found out and did the deep dive into exactly what had happened on each file and deposited the money back immediately into our client trust. So that's the firm actually, as we found these, put money in client trust. We then met with all the clients, reestablished what the correct disbursements should have been, and returned all funds to the clients.
So the firm had to pay the money back that you've determined in each one of these cases that Alex Murdaugh misappropriated through the fake forge on this list.
We did.
What's the total amount on this sheet?
$2,841,512.55.
All right. And again, does this represent everything or just a particular category?
Just a particular category.
Just real quick, I see that says 129.11 for Thomas Moore. Is that supposed to be 21?
Yes. And that would be the date and the check number of the check that was taken.
I'm going to hand Exhibit 314 up to you. And if you could correct that with my pen here, and then just put your initials next to it, please. Going back to Exhibit 314, if we look at all the check dates on here, we have the earliest one being about August of 2015. Is that correct?
That's right.
And then it continues all the way up to early 2021. Is that correct?
That's correct. Along with your spreadsheet that was just marked, have you also prepared some supporting documentation for each one of those transactions of misappropriation that you've identified? Yes, we have.
And these are from the records and your investigation into the records at the firm?
That's correct.
And each one of these, has the firm had to make the clients whole because of the defendant's misappropriation?
We did.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as 315, and this is particular case is Elise Mallory. And just as an example, and see if you recognize that document.
Indeed, this first document is the disbursement which would have been drafted at the end of the case that states the recovery, expenses, fees, and payments to clients. Next we have, this one actually had a payment to forge, so I have a copy of that canceled check. And then the third and fourth pages are where we did our correcting disbursements with footnotes about what had happened and explained everything to our clients when we reimbursed them.
Okay. Let's put that up on the screen real quick. And are there similar documents, supporting documents for each one of these transactions that's on your spreadsheet?
There is.
All right. So this is a disbursement sheet, is that right?
That's correct.
And I didn't ask you, but very quickly, tell me what a disbursement sheet is and how they're supposed to work.
So disbursement sheet just shows at the conclusion of the case, once the recovery, it will show the recovery amount, list out the fees that were sent to the attorneys, shows fee splits if there's multiple attorneys, shows the amount of expenses we collect back, any liens or loans that were payable that were in the scope of that case, and then the final amount would be the payment to the client or the client's beneficiaries if they had beneficiaries.
All right. And then down here at the bottom of this particular one, do you recognize that signature?
Yes, that's Alex.
Okay. And going to the second page, what is this right here?
That is a copy of the check that was payable to Forge that you saw on the bottom line of that other disbursement, as well as the back of it showing the endorsement.
All right. And is that the real Forge or the fake Forge?
That's the fake Forge.
All right. And then what is this document right here?
This is the correcting disbursement. The yellow totals would signify what the correct amount should have been and the corrections that would needed to have been made.
All right, going back to this first page, in this particular one, how much was the recovery?
$183,528.
All right, and then was there an attorney fee taken from PMPED?
There was an attorney fee taken. In this case, it was $30,000, which was a reduced fee. We generally get a third or 40%, but there are instances where the attorney will reduce their fee for some reasons.
And do you know why? Who requested the fees be reduced in this case?
That would be Alec would have done that.
Alec did that, and so but those fees got paid to the firm from that recovery, correct?
They did.
All right, great. So the rest of that money went to the client, didn't it?
It did not. It actually went to the fake Forge account where Alec stole the money from the client.
Every last bit of it.
Every bit, the $152,866.
That client didn't get one dime until y'all had to make it right.
That's right.
And that's similar to the rest of the examples we have.
It's exactly like the rest.
Been going on for years.
Yes.
Documentation like that for each one of these, and they're in the packet up there. I'm happy to go through all of those with the witness. I don't want to sell myself short if I need to. I don't know if the point for purposes of your honor is made, or if you would like me to go through each one of those. I'm happy to keep going.
Who's this? Mr. Griffin? Is this yours?
So if you... Okay. Let's indulge just one moment, Your Honor.
Do you have a summary of everything, Ms. Seckinger?
Ms. Seckinger, yes.
Seckinger is...
I can do that from the spreadsheet, Your Honor. And then we're marking the supporting documentation, which I'll go ahead and mark. But I think with Ms. Seckinger, we can kind of walk through each one and describe each one while we do that. But each packet has... We've got this spreadsheet that has each one on there, and then for each one of them, we tried to minimize it down to the bare minimum. And again, this isn't even all of the misappropriation, but we've just have a few supporting documents for each one, which is the disbursement sheet, the fake forged check typically, and then the corrected disbursement sheet that the firm had to do. That's generally what each packet has. For example, like the one we last did. Is that correct, Ms. Seckinger?
That's correct.
And so I can go through those quickly, and we can do that on the spreadsheet. And then we have one other category that they uncovered of manner in which he was able to misappropriate money going back to, I think, 2008, 2009, something like that.
You may proceed.
Thank you. All right. So, Your Honor, we're going through that packet that was provided up there with you, and we're going to go in order except for Hirschberger, which we already talked about. And so, Ms. Seckinger, can you see okay on that screen there?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to just kind of move through these as expeditiously but as accurately as we can. First one, we have this particular client, Ms. Adriana. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right. And I'm going to put 317 up on the screen, and is this the disbursement sheet for that?
That is the disbursement sheet for that, yes.
All right. And down at the bottom, do you recognize the signature where it says attorney?
That's Alex's signature.
All right. And would typically the attorneys meet with the clients and get them to sign these disbursement sheets before any disbursements were made?
Typically, we did the checks on the attorney's signature, and then the attorney met with the client and had them signed at the same time they distributed and discussed the disbursement.
Gotcha. All right. And then right here on this particular one, we have a total recovery amount of how much?
$247,500.
All right. And then the firm gets paid its fees out of that.
And again, that looks like a reduced fee of $22,000.
And what happens to the rest of the money?
The $225,073.46 went to a fake forge account that was for Alex's benefit.
All right. And is that the check right there?
That is.
Whose signature is that right there?
That's Alex.
All right. And that's 225 and change. And then you have the corrected disbursement sheet. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And this is where the firm had to make good on Alex's misappropriation.
That's correct.
All right, let's move to the next one. This would be for Mr. Barrett, using the first name. Is that correct?
That's right, Barrett Boulware.
All right, and just using the first name. We have this first one is the 75-193. Is that right?
That is the check I discussed earlier that was payable to Barrett that Alec endorsed directly and deposited into his account.
All right, and I'm on the exhibit 318. We're going to the third page, but is this that check right here that was made out to Mr. Boulware?
That is, and that was actually found as we went through his desk after September 3rd.
All right, and you recognize that writing right there? I can zoom in if you need to.
That's Alec's writing.
All right, and this is the deposit slip went along with it?
Yes.
And what's the name right there?
Alex Murdaugh.
All right, going to the next one on the list, we have this one, and the amount is $279,850.65. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right, and we're still in exhibit 318. And this is the disbursement sheet, the original disbursement sheet right there.
That's correct.
Whose signature is down at the bottom?
That's Alex Murdaugh's.
And what does that say right there?
$279,000, $850.65. Payable to forge.
Fake forge or real forge?
Fake.
All right, and then what is that right there?
That's the check payable to forge showing Alex signing it and endorsement on the back.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. We have, this is Hirschberger. We already did that one, correct?
That's correct.
Well, yeah, we already did that one. All right, let's go on, and we did the next two. Those were those two fees that Alec told you he was structuring?
That's right.
All right, or at least this one was, correct?
That's right.
All right, let's go on to Ms. Gary. This is States 319. This is the disbursement sheet right here.
That is the initial disbursement sheet.
Okay, and what is that right there?
Excuse me, that is not the initial, that's the second one. So there's a forward structure right there of $112,500, a payment of the personal rep and the amount divvied between the beneficiaries. That forward structure should have been paid to the beneficiaries, and again, it was paid to the fake forge account.
All right,
You see the check signed by Alec and endorsed by Alec.
All right, so that's the 112.5 right there, correct?
That's right.
And then you have the corrected disbursement where y'all had to make right to the clients.
That's correct.
All right. Moving on to the next one. We have Mr., and I'm going to use their first names. Use that for me if you can, please.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Christopher. All right, and we have this. You have this disbursement right here. Is that correct?
That's right.
And whose signature is that right there?
Alex Murdaugh's,
And we got how much?
$750,000.
Going to what?
Fake forge.
The fake forge. Is that correct?
That's right.
And then we have the check.
That we do.
And who's do you recognize that on the back?
That is Alex Murdaugh's.
Okay, and this is $750,000.
That's correct.
All right, and then we have another disbursement sheet where y'all had to correct it and make it right to the client.
That's correct.
Y'all had to pay back $750,000
We did.
that Alex spent of
We
client
did.
money.
We did. He stole it.
All right, let's go to the next one. Dion Martin. We have 3 for Mr. Martin. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, let's look at that. We have.
So you have a
Here-
little new category here. You see it above where it says structured annuity directly to Michael Gunn for $500,000, and then it's offset by the proceeds structured annuity below. This would represent like there was an annuity associated with that case that had been properly structured and sent, and that resulted in there being a $200,000 fee taken on that $500,000 that should not have been taken from the client.
So just a sleight of hand with paperwork, and Ella created a phantom real $200,000 in fees from thin air.
That's right.
All right, but that's not the end of this one, is it?
No.
Okay. All right, right here on the second page, we have a disbursement to Forge. Is that correct?
That's right.
And is that real Forge or fake Forge?
That's the fake forge.
How much is that one?
$338,000, $56.14.
Okay. Now, we already talked about on this list, we talked about the fake fee of $200,000 that you just mentioned.
That's right.
And we did the 338,056.
That's right.
14. Okay, let's keep going. And what's that?
That's the check for the $338,000 that's payable to the fake forge and endorsed by Alec.
All right. And then what is this disbursement sheet?
This one is showing a structured payment of $45,000, and this one incidentally had a quote attached to it and is signed by the client. And that also went to the fake forge account and his personal account. This is a copy of the quote from Forge.
All right. But no Forge structure was ever materialized.
No was done. We verified none was ever done.
All right. And what is that $45,000 check there?
This is the $45,000 check to the fake forge deposited by Alec.
And is this the disbursement sheet where y'all had to correct it and make it right to the client?
Yes.
All right. Moving on to the next one. We have Elise Mallory, and that's the one I showed you at the beginning. It is an example. Is that
That's right.
All right. So we've done that one, and that was $183,528, where he took every last dime of it. Is
That's
that correct?
right.
Yep. All right, the last one I talked about was 321. The one before that was 320, and the one before that was 319. We are now on 322. Let me turn the page. And we have Mr. Jamian, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, and right here we've got a disbursement sheet, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, and we have a forge of $90,000.
That's correct.
All right, and is that real forge or fake forge?
Fake forge.
Okay, and what is this right here, sideways?
That is the check payable to Forge, the fake forge, and the endorsement on the back of the check.
All right. All right, and then we have an expense disbursement right there of 5541.17. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And is that another amount that y'all had identified?
We identified later that that was an incorrect charge to a client file, so we reimbursed that as well.
Okay, and is this that page right here?
Yes.
And what did Alec bill to the client that y'all determined was improper?
Some airfare
To where?
on a private flight. I can't recall, but I believe that one might have been down to the Keys.
All right. Did y'all have to pay that money back too in this corrected disbursement?
We did.
That was Exhibit 322. We got 333, Mr. Johnny, $95,000. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right, on the first page, we have the disbursement sheet, and we have a forged line right here for $95,000.
That's correct.
And did that go to the real forge or the fake forge?
Fake forge.
Okay, we have a copy of the check right there. Is that correct?
That's the copy of the check and the endorsement, and a copy of the correcting disbursement.
Y'all had to make that right to the client.
We did.
Moving on to 324, Mr. Jordan. We got a disbursement to forge. Is that right?
That's right, for $85,000, along with the fake check and the endorsement on the check.
Okay. And then the corrected disbursement, correct?
You missed the one for $65,000. There was two in that one.
Yep, there it is right there.
That's right, and then the correcting.
All right. So we had an 85 and a 65,000 for that one, correct?
Correct.
Exhibit 325. This is now Mr. Manuel, and we have a $70,000 forge. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Fake forge.
Fake forge.
All right. And what's that right there?
The check payable to forge, the fake forge, and the endorsement. And this is the correcting disbursement where we paid the client back that $70,000.
Go on to the next one. We got Miss Mary, and we got a settlement proceeds to forge of $19,500 right there. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And this is Exhibit 326. And did that go to real forge or fake forge?
The fake forge.
All right. And what is that right there?
Copies of the check, the fake forge, and the endorsement on the back by Alex.
All right. And then the corrected disbursement having to pay the money back
Correct.
by the firm. All right. Going on to Mr. Randy. Right here, we've got a disbursement of $9,569.30 on Exhibit 327.
Correct.
All right. Next page, we have what?
The copy of the check payable to the fake forge and the endorsement by Alec on the back of it.
All right. And then the correction disbursement.
Correct.
All right. And last one for this set is Exhibit 328, and we have Morris Mack. Thomas Moore. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And whose signature is that right there?
That is Alex.
And the amount to forge of $125,000. Is that right?
Incidentally, that's a forged signature for the client. The client confirmed that when we met with them.
Do you recognize that handwriting
It appears to me to be Alex printing.
on the disbursement sheet?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then we have the fake check right there,
That's correct.
or the fake forward check, and then that's all on that one for right now. Is that correct?
Well, it's partial correction. Yeah.
Okay. All right.